Joe is a strict, no-nonsense man who believes black workers have a right to the same privileges as white workers. He has fought tooth and nail to ensure that the local government provides his school with the needed facilities, and the teachers are well paid. For that, he has earned the nickname Crazy Joe. Despite his disciplinary attitude, Joe is a fun teacher who knows how to captivate his students. His friend and fellow teacher, Frank, walks in and informs him the other members of the teachers' union, which was started by Joe and Frank, are having a meeting behind their backs. Joe is pissed and storms off to the meeting. Apparently, the government proposed a deal to the other members: get Joe transferred to an elementary school in exchange for higher salaries. On getting there, Joe finds out his members have already taken the deal. Although he feels disappointed and betrayed, he respects their wishes and leaves. Fast forward to 20 years later, and Eastside High, which was a school of excellence, is now the lowest ranked school in the state, filled with graffitis and trash and harboring juvenile drug dealers, gangsters, and bullies who beat up students and teachers. Don, the mayor, who has been unaware of the happenings at Eastside High, is planning his re-election campaign. Frank, who's now the school superintendent, and Rosenberg, the school attorney, inform him that the state is planning on taking control of Eastside High if 75% of the students don't pass the upcoming minimum basic skills test. The last time the test was held, only 38% of the students passed. Don fears that he would lose his election if such happens. Frank suggests that they rehire Joe as the school principal to revamp the school's image. Don is aware of Joe's reputation and he doesn't like him. Seeing there is no other qualified candidate for the job, Don reluctantly agrees. Frank and Rosenberg go to Joe's elementary school and offer him the job. Joe suspects that the mayor wants to use him as a pawn to secure votes for the election. Frank admits that Joe is right, but tells him to focus on the bigger picture, which is to make a difference in the school and write his name into its history. Joe returns to Eastside High and is shocked to find out what it has become. In a meeting with the staff, he airs his frustration at them. He requests for the names of every hoodlum in the school. He feels the reason behind the school's decline is because the staff haven't been doing their jobs. Because of that, he appoints an executive committee to control the core aspects of the school in need of improvement. He puts Reverend Slappy in charge of the school's appearance and asks him to clean off every graffiti and to remove the cages in the cafeteria. He tells Slappy he can use the detention students to assist him. Mr. Wright is in charge of security and Mr. Zarella as the new football head coach. Mr. Darnell, the former head, is demoted to the position of assistant coach. Joe also institutes some programs to help lift the school's spirit. After getting the names, Joe expels 300 hoodlums from the school and forbids smoking in school premises. He informs the students they'd be having a mock test in a few weeks. He reunites with his former elementary school student, Kanesha, and tells her to let him know if she has any problems. At a meeting with the parents, Mrs. Barnett, mother of one of the expelled kids, vents her anger on Joe Clark and asks him to bring back all the expelled students. Joe tells the parents that he intends to give the students in that school a future and he won't let those hoodlums get in his way. He jokes that the parents should get their children off welfare support, but Mrs. Barnett takes that personally. One of the expelled students, Sams, begs Joe to take him back. Joe makes him promise he would take his studies seriously and threatens to expel him again if he misbehaves. Joe familiarizes himself with the students during lunch. He catches Sams stealing Kinesa's lunch and yells at him to return it. Joe criticizes Sam's dressing in front of the whole school. He notices that Sams eats with two senior students and suspects they've been influencing him negatively. As their punishment, Joe asks Sams and his friends to sing the school anthem. He instructs the rest of the school not to move while they sing. Mr. Darnell disobeys Joe's instruction by bending down to pick a piece of trash. Joe gets offended and commands him to go and wait in his office. He places Sams and his friends in detention and threatens to suspend any student who cannot sing the school anthem when asked to. Joe meets Mrs. Elliott, the music teacher, while she's preparing her students for an upcoming concert. He asks her to teach the school song to the students immediately, but she's more focused on the concert and says she'll do the school song later. Joe gets angry and asks her to see him outside immediately. They have a heated argument and he cancels the concert. Mrs. Elliott complains about having to deal with Joe's attitude and he fires her. Mr. Darnell confronts Joe in his office for degrading him in front of the students. He threatens to beat Joe up if he doesn't give him the respect he deserves. Joe feels challenged and places Mr. Darnell on an indefinite suspension. Mrs. Levias, the vice principal, tells Joe that nobody likes what he's doing, but Joe insists he is there to do his job and not be a people pleaser. After the mock test, Joe asks Mrs. Levias to get the test scores as soon as possible. A former drug dealer student sneaks into the school premises to beat up a student. Joe gets him thrown out. Since the school can't afford security doors, Joe orders that the doors be locked with chains during school hours to prevent future sneak-ins. When Joe finds out Kenesha's mom wants to throw her out of the house, he and Mrs. Levias pay her visit. The mom explains that she isn't happy with her poverty-stricken life, and she doesn't want Kenesha to see her that way. Joe promises to help Kenesha's mom get a job and to get them a better house if she lets Kenesha stay. Frank tells Joe he's been getting a lot of complaints from parents and teachers because of him. He scolds Joe for firing Mrs. Elliott, who was their best teacher. It's already too late to recall Mrs. Elliott, so he asks Joe to bring back Mr. Darnell. He also demands that Joe writes an apology letter for his maltreatment of teachers and his insensitive welfare joke. Joe complains, but Frank reminds him that he's his superior. After getting complaints about the chain doors, the fire chief, Gaines, warns Joe that he's breaking the fire code and demands to go inside and inspect the doors. Joe refuses to allow him in without a search warrant. Joe finds out that Mrs. Powers, the new music teacher, has rewritten the school anthem and encourages her to teach it to the students. Joe gets the test results from Mrs. Levias and sees that only 33% of the students passed. He yells at her for not getting the test scores sooner. He calls the teachers for a meeting and blames them for the students' failures. Joe organizes a Saturday reading program for the students. Mrs. Barrett makes a deal with Dawn. He appoints her to the school board and gets Gaines to enter the school premises and catch Joe chaining the doors. In return, she'll help him get votes for his re-election. Rosenberg overhears Don instructing the fire chief and warns Joe. Joe instructs the school's security guards to be on alert and remove the chains once they see the fire chief coming. There's a queue of people waiting to see Joe, but he doesn't have the time. A happy Mrs. Levias wants to give him an update on the reading program, but he yells at her to handle it herself, which makes her sad and angry. While Joe is closing from work, Mrs. Levias asks to see him. After complaining that she and the rest of the teachers have been doing their best and are tired of being unappreciated by Joe, she demands that he transfers her to another school. Joe realizes his mistakes, and the next day, he gives Mrs. Levias her transfer letter during the school assembly. He then proceeds to appreciate all the teachers for their effort and subtly apologizes to Mrs. Levias. He encourages the students to give their best to the basic skills test, which was to take place that day. Mrs. Powers sings an inspirational song for the students. Everyone is touched, including Mrs. Levias, who forgives Joe and squeezes the letter. She and the students sing along with Mrs. Powers. After the test, Joe finds Kenesha weeping and learns she got impregnated by her class president. He promises he would help her talk to her mom so that they can both find a solution for Kenesha. Mr. Wright rushes in and informs Joe that Gaines is in the building. Gaines finds chains on the doors and arrests Joe amidst revolts from the students. The school board and parents have a meeting to discuss the fate of Joe Clark. Mrs. Barrett says he should be sacked while Frank defends Joe. Despite Joe's strictness, the students love and miss him. They gather in large numbers in front of Joe's prison and protest for his release. Don goes to Joe's cell and begs him to tell the students to return home so they won't be attacked by the police. Joe doesn't want his students to get hurt, so he goes outside to calm them down. While Joe addresses the students, Mrs. Levias brings the results of the minimum basic skills test. Joe finds out that the students passed and breaks the news to all of them. Joe is allowed to keep his job and return home, and he celebrates with the students on the way. The movie ends with Joe handing the students their certificates at their graduation ceremony and congratulating each one of them. Lean on Me is a movie that talks about good leadership, never giving up no matter how tough life gets, sticking to your standards, loyalty, and doing good to others. This movie starred Morgan Freeman, Beverly Todd, and the late Robert Guillaume. Morgan Freeman went on to win an AACP Image Award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Motion Picture. Thanks for watching. This page is dedicated to talking about legendary Black movies. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. What was your favorite part of the movie? Who was your favorite character? Which character was your least favorite? Tell us in the comments section below.